Hey everybody, it's Steve with Real Progressives, and I'm back home. Had an opportunity to live stream from the White House earlier today. Spent some time with family. Going through the death of my father and trying to process that in a way that allowed me to have closure while honoring him, and at the same time giving me peace of mind to move forward. And I want to talk about some really, really intimate shit with you guys because I want you guys to be able to piece together why I feel as strongly about foreign policy and why I feel as strongly about being anti-war as I am. And what it came down to was, after my father passed, the people from the funeral home came, and they were so gracious. And they took my dad, who had died of natural causes, and they placed him in a body bag. And I sat there and watched that. And I felt just an incredible sense of, horror. Like it was maybe the most awful experience I've ever had in my entire life. And this was just my father, who died of natural causes. And I was angry. But there's no one to really be angry about. Maybe some anger at the people that want to cut spending that could have maybe funded the research that would have helped him cure his disease. But the reality was we were long past that point. I was just angry because I lost my father. I was sad, I was bitter, I was nauseous, my equilibrium was shot. And then, because my activism mind never goes into hibernation, it never shuts down, I was thinking to myself, how awful it must be for people that live across the globe, the other side of the world, when our bombs hit and kill their dads for unnatural causes, and kill their mothers, and kill their children. And they're just laying out there in the streets. They're not even having a funeral home come and body bag them. They're not even having the opportunity to say goodbye. They're not able to hold their hand as they take their last breath. They don't even realize that they're going to die in 5 minutes. They're sitting there eating dinner. They're at a wedding. They're farming. They're cleaning the back porch. And all of a sudden the bomb hits. And it's complete mayhem. And then the next thing, when the rubble settles and the dust clears, there's their father laying there, mangled and bloody and dead. And I keep thinking to myself, how is it possible that we could be of such two minds, one with our own family, one with our own loved ones, and we could feel such deep compassion and deep affinity and such a terrible sense of loss when people we know and love die. But yet we can be so callous and cavalier, so completely full of self-righteousness, as we sit there and yell and scream and wave our flag as we bomb the living shit out of regular humans, non-combatants, people that are doing nothing other than being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and how we just sort of blow that off like it's no big deal. Is it any wonder that the terrorists hate Americans? Is it any wonder they hate us? Do you really think they hate us for our freedoms? Is that where you think this is going? It's not, my friends. It's not. We have been at war for forever. I mean, my life has been spent largely either fighting a Cold War, or fighting a Gulf War, or fighting a Bosnian War, or fighting some other silly war like Iraq, going into Syria, Libya, back in Iraq, You know, we are always, oorah, killing somebody. And we're always wondering why it is they hate us so much. Now, if somebody were to bomb me and my family, let me assure you, there would be hell to pay. And you let me and a couple other families get together if our loved ones were bombed. I assure you, we would leave our mark on the world. There wouldn't be any forgiveness for that. There wouldn't be any, well, you got to understand. There would absolutely not be an ounce of compassion or remorse. It would be a total, all-out war in our own little minor way. Now you think about how many hundreds of thousands of Muslims we've killed since we lost our 5,000 or so throughout the war and throughout the World Trade Center, etc., whether it be an inside job, an outside job, a whatever job. We've only lost a very, very small amount of people compared to the rest of the world. And every life matters, right? All lives matter, don't they? I don't know if they do or not. But I can tell you right now, having watched my dad, who had frozen solid, he was done, lifted into a body bag, and knowing how horrible I felt, I can only imagine what a small child in Aleppo feels as he's shell-shocked and bloodied and looks over at his mother laying there dead. I wonder if he's going to look for vengeance someday. I would. As much as I'd like to believe I'm for peace and love, you bomb my family, I'm probably going to do something about it. And it isn't going to be a prayer. So is it any wonder that terrorists, isn't that a tremendously awesome word? There are certainly terrorists out there. There are certainly terrorists in the world. But you know what? One man's terrorist, another man's freedom fighter. And if your family was bombed, ask yourself, literally sit back and ask yourself, if you had to cart your father out of the road and he was blown to bits, or your brother, or your child, would you be sympathetic to American causes? Would you be sympathetic to an America that just blew your family apart? Would you be sympathetic? It's amazing to me how people are so incapable of putting themselves in the shoes of another, to feel what it's like to be someone else, to experience their loss, to experience their trauma, and to know that we are the cause of that. Now I say we being our nation. And unless we, real progressives, stand up and make our foreign policy look dramatically different, we are going to be guilty of the bloodshed of our nation. We have a sacred responsibility, if you will, to stop our murderous regime, our murderous foreign policymakers from committing more atrocities in the name of freedom. Give me some freedom here at home. Stop making marijuana illegal. Stop jailing people for nonsense, for not being able to pay bills. Give us real freedom at home, and then I'll buy that you're fighting for my freedom. But you're not fighting for our freedoms. Hell, you're not even fighting to keep us safe. You've got climate change that you're unwilling to fund to fix. You've got all the issues of poverty throughout this nation that you're unwilling to fix. Don't tell me that you're fighting for my freedom when you drop bombs in Libya or when you drop bombs in Syria. Don't tell me that you're fighting for my freedom when we are still without single-payer health care, universal health care. Don't tell me you're fighting for that when you can't even take care of us here at home. And certainly don't read me some long-winded diatribe about how bad those people are in the Middle East when you've created more terrorists than you've killed. Empathy, folks. That is a very, very progressive trait. The art of empathy, the humane human condition of being empathetic, to feel the pain of others and to take actions to prevent that pain when possible. That is a decidedly progressive worldview. That is a real progressive worldview. And for the pain that I felt, I can only imagine, because I had time to think through it. I had time to process that the end was coming. I had time to make right the wrongs. Now, what if, hypothetically, what if one of these kids fought with their dad in Syria? What if they fought with him and said horrible things, and then 2 minutes later their dad was killed by one of our bombs, and they didn't have the opportunity to make right with their families? Silly things like that that go completely untalked about, unnoticed, because they're not even human to us. They're not even worthy of human consideration. They're just a number. They're not even dog level. You care more about somebody's dog next door than you do about the lives we're bombing the hell out of over there. You know, and to be fair, we shouldn't harm animals either, right? How many animals are killed in these wars as well? How much ecological damage is done from our wars? I mean, there is so much destruction, all in the name of being able to get to the contract to rebuild it. They're not even considering what the damage is in terms of collateral damage. Saying, oops, I'm sorry, doesn't come close to it, folks. I'm telling you, I am still raw as hell. And it was all natural. It was 1000% natural. Imagine if you had family members consistently bombed into oblivion, your entire neighborhood, your life, surrounded by wondering when the next drone strike was hitting. Imagine, please, I'm begging you, even the people that believe what I believe, I am asking you to please consider what it's like to be in a war zone so that you can have the empathy you need to fight to stop our wars. To have that empathy to understand why it is so important that we fight to end war. I am petrified in a way that I can't even express of what a Hillary Rodham Clinton presidency might look like. And the fallout from I have a 1-year-old. My child turned 1 year old today. 1. What kind of fallout comes from her wars that he's going to have to clean up? Ask yourself, how many of your children are going to die? Maybe that's the kind of nonsense, unfortunately, that we have to accept to think about to realize how destructive our wars are to the rest of the world. Please think about this, folks. We need everybody to be anti-war. It is the only human belief system. Anything other than that is truly uncivilized. This is Steve with Real Progressives, hoping you actually think about the people on the other side of the bomb and fight for their lives too, if you believe all lives matter. Thank you and have a great evening.